Welcome to Series 7 of the Dig podcast, and I am your host, Caroline O'Neill. In this series, I am talking to business owners, entrepreneurs and experts who are sharing their journey and preparing us for the future. What does the working world look like in the future? It changes every week, every day, every hour. So tune in each week as I ask my guests how they are future-proofing their business. Today on the Dig podcast, where am I? Oh my goodness, I am in the middle of Belfast city centre in a new civic space, a communal space for people. I just rocked in here. Women in Business were having a conference and they had secured a wee pod for me, and I didn't really realise the cool place that it is. So thank you to Women in Business and Belfast City Council. It's right, we're next door to Primark, where Tesco's used to be, for anybody who's wondering. So this is my podcast studio today. There is background noise, but we're going to go with it. They've actually just started to play a piano. They must have knew the Dig podcast was about to start, but we're going to embrace that. My guest might sing towards...
I'm not singing. Just so we're all clear, I'll not be singing.
We might both sing before the end, but just so you know, that's what the background noise is, but we're going to embrace it. I have the mics on and hopefully you can still hear our conversation. Today on the Dig podcast, I am speaking to Grainne Kelly. And Grainne is many things, as you will find out when we're finished, but she is a TEDx speaker. She's founder and CEO of BubbleBum, which is the world's first inflatable car booster seat. Have you ever heard of BubbleBum? I do know about it because I heard Grainne speak years ago at a Women in Business conference, and she always stood out with me because she talks very real person with actionable advice, the type of person I like and the type of person I know you all love on the podcast. She has sold millions of her product all over the world. It was stocked in Walmart, in Target stores, and the growth has been huge, but with that has came many challenges, which Grainne is going to talk to us about today. Some of which have been, well, they've been life-changing, and we're going to delve deep into how then she had to pivot, change the model of her business, and how now she gets a Friday off. Isn't that the dream? A Friday off, but she still does housework, of course, as she told me whenever we were chatting before we came on. You never get a day off whenever you're a mummy or a wife, I don't think, or a partner. We're going to hear, about investment. Like, it's very hard to know how to navigate that whole space of getting investment, but Grainne is very good at giving actionable tips. We're going to hear so much, but I'm going to just introduce her to you now. Thank you so much for being on the Dig podcast.
It's actually very humbling to have been asked to be on your podcast.
Thank you. So Women in Business had you here this morning, and you've already told your story. I sat back and listened to it again, but I know you're going to share it all with the Dig podcast listeners. So for people who don't know, Grainne, take us back to those early days. How did this all start, your fabulous business that you have now?
So I came up with the idea for the BubbleBum when I was travelling with my own children, and every time I arrived at the car rental desk, of course they didn't have the car seat that I had pre-booked in advance, and I was a travel agent at the time. So I was like so full of my own self-importance when I arrived to the desk and said, oh, but I've pre-booked them in advance. And they told me that I should have read the small print.
Okay.
And they're only available, they're on request, which means that if there's none available, you don't get one, even though I had pre-booked it. So I started going around all the car rental desks and asking them, do you not have any booster seats, and why not? And they said, we have nowhere to store them. So I came home and I rang a crash test lab, as you do.
As you do, yes.
As you do. And I asked them why there was no such thing as an inflatable car seat. And they said, well, car seat has to be tested in all these different ways. And I was like, listen, I'm not an engineer. Can you just talk to me as if I'm a 3-year-old and explain it to me as you would a 3-year-old so that I can understand? So they gave me all the reasons why you couldn't have an inflatable car seat. And the main reason was that it had to be crash tested, deflated. Okay. So if it got punctured during a crash, it had to still be able to pass the crash testing. And I thought, do you know those camping cushions that you used to get?
Yes.
And if you got a puncture, you couldn't get the damn things to go down.
Yes.
Right? So you couldn't even pack them away. So that was the thought behind the BubbleBum.
Yes.
The same type of technology. And the rest is history. That's why I came up with the idea, and I took a flight out to China to manufacture it and started selling, all within 9 months.
So you've obviously got a very entrepreneurial mind, though. Like, we've all thought of things, but we've never took action. You just obviously are that type of person. You must have had that business drive in you, did you?
Well, I don't know. I suppose in our house we were always brought up to be resourceful. like really resourceful. It was a thing for my parents, and my dad particularly and he would have been a big influence in my life. It would have been, there's no such word as canny, there's no such word as can't, no such word as canny.
Canny is
is that
a Strabans? Or where are you from again?
Derry.
Derry, that's a Derry speak, is it? Canny. So there's no thing you can't do.
No such word as canny.
Okay, and then I know there's a whole conversation around sourcing factories in China and all, and that's definitely a conversation that I'd love to have with you someday. But I want to talk about the whole journey, and if we focus on that, I know we're not going to get through it all
day.
Yes, so Grainne will return someday, hopefully, on the podcast. But so you started that journey of developing your product. What was the most challenging part then of actually getting it to a stage where it was sellable?
The regulatory requirements, because there's different regulations in different countries. So in the EU and the UK, there's one regulation, then there's a different regulation for North America, and there's another regulation for Canada, and a different one for China. So all of these regulations have got 2,000-page documents that you've got to adhere to, and unfortunately, that's not my forte. I'm a really bad reader.
Okay.
Really bad reader, to the point whereby I often thought that I was dyslexic, where I would read a chapter of a book and I would get to the end, and I would, even if I read it aloud, I had no clue what happened in that chapter. So for me, it was really hard. I was going through everything with a highlighter, highlighting, because I could, and then I would go to somebody else in a testing laboratory and say to them, can you tell me, is this what I'm understanding? Is that correct?
So there's a lesson in that there too about always asking, not being afraid to sound stupid. Isn't that right?
Listen, I'm the expert at sounding stupid. If there's a stupid question to be asked, I'm your girl, all day long.
And how do you get the confidence to ask that stupid question?
It's because I've always asked stupid questions.
Yes.
It's not about having the confidence. It's about, if I don't ask the question, I'm far stupider for having not asked the question, right? Would you not rather learn?
I think that's a big, for people who are listening to the podcast especially, they don't know these things and they're afraid to ask. And I
always ask. I actually was in the bank, and I had filled out, I had done a business plan for the bank, which they hadn't read, by the way. Okay. And they wanted an extra section in this and an extra section in that, and this guy hadn't read it. This is back in the very beginning. And he said to me, he started talking in all these abbreviations, and I said, listen, what does that mean? I don't understand what that means. He didn't know what it meant either. Right? He couldn't tell me what the abbreviation stood for. So ask the question.
I was at an event recently. It was actually a women in business event, and everybody kept talking to me about the FSB. And I was like, I knew I should know, but I didn't know, right? And then I was like, I just feel so stupid here. Yeah. And then I just said to the girl beside me, FSB, what does that mean? She's like, oh, the Federation of Small Businesses. And I was like, oh, but I felt stupid asking it, but I was so glad I did, because then I knew what it was. But abbreviations get me too. I think you nearly need to always ask. So I think there's a lesson definitely in that. Never feel stupid, because you don't know do you know, right?
And you don't know what you don't know either.
You don't know what you don't know. I love that. So never be afraid to ask, because if it's not your industry and it's not your forte, how the hell would you know? Is what I always say. So anyway, so you were always very forward thinking and asking the questions, and then the regulations were obviously the hardest part for you to get that to market. Now, we're doing all of this and you're developing this product, and you two wee boys too. Yeah. So talk to us about that. What happened then? Because you started to travel a lot.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I couldn't have done it without a supportive husband. Absolutely not. And he really encouraged me to do all that. I think he probably wanted me out of the house, to be honest with you. So our relationship was working really well, because he never saw me.
Yes.
And our two boys, I had to sacrifice so many things for them. And I would have asked them the question, do you want us to go for 2 weeks to Disneyland, and do you want to do whatever at Christmas time? And they'll say yes, and I'll say, well, for us to do that, I won't be there for your end of year, and I might not be there for your birthday. And they're like, that's okay, as long as you buy me a present. Boys are very good.
Very good.
Like, as long as the present comes in, they don't overthink it. And I'm like, right, that's fine, as long as we agree those parameters with the children, and they know. It's whenever they expect to see you at something and you don't turn up. That's the issue. So I just was always very clear, if we're going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to be able to attend these things. But if you want me to attend those things, I'll do that.
And did that help you cope with the thing that people talk about now, which is the guilt of parents?
Not at all.
No, you still felt what we all feel.
Mother of God. That is what you're born to do, feel guilty.
So how do you manage that then? You
don't-
managed it
you
by
just
having
feel
it.
guilty.
So right.
You just have to suck it up and feel guilty. And you know what? You're not the only person feeling guilty. You feel guilty. If you weren't feeling guilty about leaving your children, you would feel guilty about not going to work. So, like, there's no winning.
I know. That's really good advice. I think everybody's just feeling the same. I interviewed somebody in the podcast last week, and actually I had 2 full days, right? And my wee girl was starting nursery, and Jared said to me before I went down on the first day, "You're very quiet. Did I do something wrong?" I was like, "No,
And that probably wasn't about like you.
I said, "I'm just trying to figure out when I'm going to bath Tess for nursery." And he was like, "What?" And I said, "Because I'm going to be away from 6 in the morning to 7:30 at night. It takes an hour to do her hair. Anyway, this isn't about me, but the guilt overwhelmed me, Grainne. I felt I was crying and everything, but anyway, so it's good to hear that. Everybody goes through it, and you just have to find your way through, because it's just part of life, isn't it? So anyway, the 2 boys, you promised them Disneyland or whatever, and you took off to America for all your different... Will you actually tell us what happened then? You moved there.
So I came down one morning and I'd said to my husband, well, first of all, what had happened was I rang the crash test laboratory in America, and I said, can somebody help me? I'm trying to bring in an inflatable car seat. And I know in the background they were probably laughing, right? And I said, can somebody help me? And I want to get my product crash tested. And they were like, yeah, we'll get back to you in a few weeks, ma'am. And I said, no, I want somebody to get back to me today. I want to speak to somebody today. No, that won't be possible. Anyway, I must have rung them about 70 times, and they still didn't give me any information. And my husband came down the stairs, and I said to him the next morning, I said, we need to go to America. And he said, oh, okay, then, thinking that we'll go on holidays, as you do. And I said, no, we need to go to America, because I've got to get this product crash tested for the American market. And I'm like, are you in or are you out? And he, wouldn't you love to live with me?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And he said, well, if this is what you want to do, I'm all in. We'll do it.
He's some man.
He is some man. I told you, like, I couldn't have done it without him. And really and truly, I attribute all of this to him and the support that he gives. But anyhow, and he now works with me as well. And we moved to America for a year, and took the 2 boys, obviously, and the dog. And even the dog had an American accent.
And what was that like then? What happened out there then for that year?
Well, I joined there's a group of people in America called the Child Passenger Safety Technicians, and it's all about car seats and fitting car seats in your cars, and they're mainly like policemen, firemen. I say men, but men or women, doctors, nurses. That's the sort of people who would be training to do this. And I decided I'll train to be a child passenger safety tech, and then I'll see what these people are telling their customers, because it was great market research for me. It was also getting me in front of parents. And then my children were at a school there, so I was bringing all the children home like the child catcher. I wasn't allowing my children to go to anybody's house, because they're all serial killers. Okay. You know that? That's what I was brought up to believe, that everybody was a serial killer. And they brought all their children's friends back to my house, and then they were my focus group.
Okay.
I didn't have to pay for any of them.
But was this a strategy, or was this just you learning as you went? Like, did you know this is what your plan was, or were you just on the go, kind of embracing every opportunity? I'm just trying to figure out what way your mind was there. Were you being mentored by someone that said you need to do this, or was this just a journey that unfolded for you?
I think it probably was a journey that unfolded. I would love to say it was strategic.
Yeah.
Part of it was strategic, and part of it just like
taking risks, and like I think a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, Grainne, in business, as you know, they think they have to have it all figured out, and they need a strategy.
I still haven't got it all figured out.
Yeah. And the business plan thing that nobody really reads anyway, that you said, people get obsessed by that, don't they? So that's really refreshing to hear that you built this multi-million-pound business based on just learning as you go. So the focus groups were happening, and things were really starting to take off in America then. Tell us about what happened then.
Well, we didn't actually launch in America until I moved back.
Okay.
And what I did was I attended this exhibition in America. Well, we exhibited at the exhibition. It was myself and another girl that I had enrolled as a salesperson with us, and she was really good as well. And whenever we were exhibiting, this guy came walking by, and I said, he was laughing at the sign because it was BubbleBum. He thought this was very funny, ha ha. And I said, come on over there, I'll chat to you, as you do. And he came over and we had won the Innovation Award.
Okay.
We girl from Derry won the Innovation Award for the biggest children and babies convention in America, right?
Wow.
Put that out there.
Yes, we've recorded that. Yeah.
Anyhow, this guy came over and he had his lanyard on, and I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm Don," and he was tucking the lanyard inside his coat. And I said, "No, Don, who are you? Where are you from?" So I pulled his lanyard out. He had a gold lanyard, and the gold lanyard was only for like senior buyers, which I didn't even know. And I turned it round, and his name was Don, anyhow, and he was the senior buyer for the category in Walmart. And I had been chatting to him for ages at this point, and then I was like, "Don, you're a really nice guy. Don't take it personally." I said, "But I can't talk to you, you know." And he said, "Why not? What are you talking about? You can't talk to me." And I said, "I've heard what you do to small businesses, and I just can't talk to you." And he said, well, he started giving me all the reasons why that was wrong and how they support small businesses and female-owned businesses and all the rest. And I said, "Look, I know, and I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I think you're a really nice guy, and I've really enjoyed talking to you, but we can't talk to you about this." Meanwhile, the lady who's in sales, she had slid down the display. She's on the ground behind me, and I went round. She's like, "What the fuck? What did you tell him?" And I said, "I told him that we can't do business with him." She said, "Everybody at the show was waiting to see him, like everybody." And I said, "Yeah, I know, but we can't do business with him because we're not ready." And the truth is, if we had have done business with him then, we never would have gotten into Walmart because we just weren't. We weren't ready. We weren't ready financially, and we didn't have the people, so we just weren't ready to go. And then he contacted us. Then that was in the September. In the October, we were on the headlines of. We were on the front page of the USA Today.
Wow.
Because we had won some award. And he rang us again and he said, "You know, how much stock do you have?" And we said, "Look, Don, you're a really nice guy. I still can't talk to you." But then years on down, we did actually speak to them, and we launched in 4,500 Walmart stores.
So you've great vision, Grainne, to know, because sometimes you can move too quick and then things can crumble. But you had that vision to know you weren't ready, which is admirable, because sometimes you'd be overwhelmed by the fame of being approached by Walmart. Do you know?
If you were baking a cake and you've got the most beautiful ingredients, and you put your cake into the cake tin, put it in the oven, and Mr. Kipling comes past your door, you're not going to say, "Come quick and taste this cake before it's baked." Why would you do that? You're not putting your best foot forward.
No, you're so right. But I guess there's lots of people who would have just been all over that. But great hindsight or great vision to see that you weren't ready. So how did you get ready?
We scaled up from a people perspective, and we took on investment. And in taking on the investment, we were then ready to launch in stores.
So that language of taking on investment, I always wonder, how do you do that? Like, I mean, there'll be people listening, they're like, I need investment, I want investment, but they've no idea. I think it's a conversation isn't talked about enough.
Yeah.
The Dig podcast needs your help. Did you know that we have thousands of people download the podcast each week, but still people haven't subscribed or followed on the channel? So I'm asking you, if you listen on Apple or Spotify, if you could hit follow. If you listen on YouTube, then hit that subscribe button. It means that I can reach out to even more guests, bring even more actionable advice that can help you in your business. People don't talk about this, I don't think. I do hear it a wee bit more now because I'm in the women in business circles, but tell us, Grainne, how does that look? How do you get investment?
So first of all, you need to kind of know how much you need and why you need it.
Yes.
And I always think that people think, I need to get bigger so I need the money, but they don't add to the why do I need it. You don't just grow because you have money. And an investor doesn't want to hear things like, "Oh, I need it because I have to pay back a loan," or "My granny gave me 50 grand, so I would like to give her back that money now and then I can run the business myself." Like, that's no benefit to an investor. So if you're looking at it and saying, "I'm going to grow my business to 4 times its size over whatever period of time," and you can get your story ready, you're then in a position to understand what you need the money for. And if you literally break it down into small chunks, I chunk everything right down and keep taking it back and be really granular about it. It means that you'll be prepared for investment. And then what I actually did was I pitched at a couple of different events, and I pitched at one of them only for the crack. And I says, if I pitch for $1 million and I need $500,000, sure, I'll see how I get on for the crack because I really need experience. I actually got the investors that night, but I only took $500,000. Really? Probably should have took a full $1 million. And I asked a friend of mine from the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year alumni, I asked him to give me some advice on how much to look for. And he says, I'm going to give you a rule of thumb that I use, it's pure country. I'm going to give you a rule of thumb that I use. You take the figure you think you need, you double it and add a wee bit, and that's how much you actually need. And he was so right. It just means that I could have scaled much more quickly by taking extra money.
And how do you get the confidence to pitch to an investor, Grainne? Like you're saying that, and there's people listening going, oh my God, I would crumble. Like you're saying, I did it for the crack. Like I know you have that in you, that confidence, but have you any tips for people who are needing to do this, but just haven't got the nerve?
If you believe in what you're doing, like you're giving them an opportunity. You're not begging. Like they're getting something. They're not giving it to you for free. They're getting a share of your business that you really believe in. So it's not like, oh, please give me your money. Like if they want to be on board and they've got something to offer more than money, great. If they're only giving you money, do you know what? You can get a loan from somewhere.
You're so right. But you nearly feel, I always
say you're getting under bed with them. Imagine, just think, because that's exactly what it feels like.
And you want to make sure it's the right one.
Yeah.
That's such a good way to look at it. But and then what about in today's world, if people are, how do they actually find investors, Grainne?
Well, there's a whole lot of different ways that you can find investors. You can go, if you're, it depends how much money you're looking to raise.
Yes.
And it's actually more difficult, I think, to raise the small amount. If you needed to raise 50,000 or 100,000, it's more difficult to raise that than it is to raise over $1 million, in my opinion.
Yes.
Because it takes the same amount of work to get that, and you'll end up having what I would consider to be inexperienced investors.
Yes.
And that in itself can take up all of your time and really injure your business because your business needs your time. What I would suggest is there are lots of different programs that your Invest NIE executives should be able to pinpoint you in different directions to find like funding. You can get funding that isn't investment, like you can get a TDI. Let's say you were doing a patent, you're making your patent application. If you've got an Invest NIE executive, you can apply for this TDI, and I can't even remember what it stands for, just know the TDI, technical something or other, and they will pay a significant proportion of the cost of your patent.
Okay.
Now that's big.
That is
because
big.
that means you're not giving away equity in your company. And then once you have exhausted all those avenues, you would then look for the grants first, and then look for the investment after that. That's what I think.
And absolutely, through Invest NI, there's Intertrade Ireland, your local enterprise agencies, all of those people you need to be speaking to, and don't be afraid to ask, like we talked about.
But they'll also be able to point you in the direction of things that are happening locally where you can go and meet with different groups who are managing investors.
Yes.
Like the likes of the Halo Group, right? Or there was HBAN as well. I don't know if that's still operational, but certainly. And also, if you can get yourself a financial advisor, they should also be able to help you with that. Okay,
that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? Oh my God, a financial advisor. So you scaled up, you got more people on the team, you got investment. That doesn't always mean that everything's deadly. Sure, it doesn't.
Not at all. Sure.
So what happened? What happened?
Well, we launched into Walmart stores, and we also launched into Target stores. So we were in 6,500 stores across North America. And we weren't making any money in those stores.
Talk to us about that, because that is something that is...
Because there were so many chargebacks, and we were small, and we needed to employ somebody to sit on each of those accounts to manage them, the financial aspect, and to manage all these chargebacks. Because what they were doing, I'll give you an example of Walmart. So we were selling to them, and let's say your terms were net 14, so 2% net 14, which meant that they would pay us within 14 days, and we would give them a 2% discount. And they used to collect their goods from us. Okay? So we weren't shipping it to them, they were collecting them from us. They ended up that they weren't paying us for maybe 60 to 90 days, and we were like, guys, your contract says, I think it was like 2% net 14, and they said, yeah, but we didn't get the goods for 60 days. And we're like, no, you collected the goods on day 1, and this is day 60. And they said, yeah, but they didn't reach our warehouse. And we're like, but that's not our fault. But it's just the wording of their contract.
Yes.
So they were, no matter what we did, they were taking the 2%, but we were laying out that money for 2 months or maybe 3 months. And then they would have had other chargebacks. And you were constantly trying to fight to get the money back again. And it was really debilitating. And then they would be running, if they were running a promotion, we fund those promotions, not them. And we also had to pay for advertising to drive the customer to Walmart. So people expect whenever you go into a retailer that the customers are just going to rock up and everybody's going to buy your product. That's not how it happens. The customers don't get there by accident. They get there because you sent them there. That's how they get there. That's what marketing is.
Mm-hmm. So you got into bed with Walmart and it wasn't very nice in there.
And then we realised that we were getting back out again because we were selling more products online than we were in retailers.
Okay, so we're selling millions of products here. When we're talking like across all the stores and you're online and all, are we talking millions of products?
You're talking hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands, okay.
Right.
So how do you? So is there ego attached with stepping away from big stores like that, or did that not come into play for you at all?
I don't think ego came into play with it. No, it's more a case of we had the credibility of being in those stores.
Yes.
So we had benefited from being there, and we just had to chalk it up to this. It was a marketing expense to have been in those stores.
Yes.
And now we know that our product, and this was like 2016, 17, around about then, and we were just like, our product's going to sell much better online than in stores. We can see in black and white here. We've got the data, and we decided that we were going to focus on our online products, and we were also removing a lot of our distributors within Europe at that point. So anybody that wasn't doing a raging trade for us in Europe, we just said we'll do it ourselves directly, that there was no point in having a middleman there. Because we could still sell on Amazon in Europe. We didn't need them to do that. So we could still sell in Europe.
So you were always looking at your business like holistically. Like I think a lot of people maybe stick their head in the sand when things aren't working and then it gets too late to fix it. Do you ever hear that? Like, I mean, if you had it kept in there with Walmart just for the marketing purposes or whatever, things would not be where they are now. Like you wouldn't be sitting here telling the same story.
No, but sure, you wouldn't have money to pay people if you were doing that.
I know, but
there would be no salaries paid.
I know, and a lot more stress. So, but we still got into a very stressful situation. You did anyway because of life throws all these curveballs. But COVID happened then.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, because that was a big thing for your business, for everybody.
So we
hate talking about COVID, but it's a part of our life.
We just called the C word in our house. We don't talk about it. We didn't watch the news. We don't watch the news ever in our house, and we don't read the newspapers unless it's pure gossip. That's all I read is pure gossip.
Okay.
But COVID happened, and in America, we're watching our sales on a daily basis. As a matter of fact, on different days of the year, we're watching them on an hourly basis. And we went from selling hundreds and hundreds a day to selling 20 and into single figures. And I was like, what is happening here? But America had kind of switched off the tap. And then we saw it happening in Europe. And because we can see these sales in real time online, we knew this is a bit of a disaster here, as we thought. But then Amazon, who we were selling at this point through Vendor Central, and Vendor Central is like, imagine Amazon is a Walmart where we sell them containers of goods and they own them and they sell them. So they had bought containers of goods off us, and they were stocking up for the summer because that would be our peak season, because it's a travel product. And don't we all know nobody was allowed to travel during COVID?
Of course.
It was one of my wee delightful treats that I had. So nobody was going anywhere. They weren't taking their children. So there was no need for a BubbleBum.
No.
And we ended up that Walmart were sending back all the goods. And we said, you can't send them back because you bought them and you haven't had them for 160 days, which is returns, but they were still sending them back irrespective. So we had to then word an email to them that would have painted them in a very poor light if they were seen to do this, that it wasn't ethical what they were doing, in order for them to keep the goods and to honour their side of the agreement. And they did keep the goods in the end. But we were still going through every day, still having to pay staff, no money coming in, and then furloughs all come in, but we still had to pay all the outgoings. We were still paying our rent, we were still paying all our insurances, which were 10 fortunes. We still had to pay all of that with no money coming in. And we didn't think we were going to get any loan from the bank when the CBILS loans come out. It took us the best part of a year to get on that programme. And then I was diagnosed with cancer
Yes.
in the middle of it all, which was another exciting thing to add to the list. So in the March, so this is March a year later when we were still in lockdown. I think it was probably our 17th lockdown. I ended up having breast cancer. I had a double mastectomy. I got 2 new ones.
They look
And
amazing.
they're great.
Yes, you look great, yes.
And lymph nodes removed, and then so I got that done in the April of 2021, and then that Christmas I ended up having to have a full hysterectomy. So I'm halfway through a gender realignment that I didn't even sign up to.
Yes.
Full hysterectomy, and then the January, so that's a month later, my mum died, and 6 weeks later I had to have the reconstruction done again and fat grafting done because it didn't work the first time. And the following week, my dad died. Now, this, you have to remember, this is still within a period of a year. And my dad died of sepsis, and then 6 or 8 weeks later, I was taken into hospital with appendicitis, and I also had sepsis. But I didn't die. I'm still here.
You are.
I'm still here with new boobs.
Amazing ones.
See?
Yeah.
So it was and during that time, so from the April to the June, literally the week after my dad died, my husband and I sat down and I said, we have to pivot this business. We can't continue with this model. And he said, no, I agree. So we both agreed that we needed to change something. And the thing we needed to change was that we needed to stop selling to Amazon, but continue using Amazon to sell our products through. So using it as a platform. So that would be an FBA model. And it would have taken us 6 weeks in high season to sell through the goods that Vendor Central were holding, so their own goods, before we could actually start selling our own, which meant that we wouldn't have any income for those 6 weeks either, because they already had the stock and they weren't reordering, because we were rejecting orders and we were coming into our peak season, so we were rejecting tens of thousands of units.
Wow.
But if you look back to 2019 prior to COVID, we had 17 of the staff, compared to this year where we have 7 team members.
7.
7, from 17 to 7, and this is now after COVID, so 19 would have been a really good year. 2023, we stand to almost double our turnover.
With 7
with
staff.
7 staff.
We are back this week with our sponsor, Night Owl Studio. Night Owl are a creative agency and they're based in Cookstown, County Tyrone, but like everybody, they're virtual now. You can literally get them from anywhere in the world. If you're listening, you can avail of their services. They're a one-stop shop for businesses looking for design, photo or video content. Now, this week, I wanted to let you know about one of their core services, which is web design. So like nowadays, whether you're selling online or you just want a place for your customers to see your work, a website is crucial. It's just a crucial part of growing your business, whether you're an established brand or maybe you just need a refresh, or maybe you're a startup and you're looking like a captivating website to be that salesperson for you 24/7. Well, then Night Owl are the team that can help you with this. They specialize in creating like modern, responsive websites, which is what we all need. And the website, you know, it turns your vision of your business into a reality for the customer. And Night Owl work really hard on each project, like tailoring it to your needs as a customer, so that your customer gets the best experience when they land on it and that you stand out. So at the minute, they're working on a really exciting refresh for me for Dig Mama. This is the Dig podcast, but I also have digmama.com, and within that, the whole Dig brand will be housed, and we'll be working really, really hard on each element of it and making sure that the consumer can navigate through it really well and that it's functional, and just we're really excited about it. We're working really hard, and that should be live very, very soon. But if you're listening and you're thinking, you know what, I need a refresh on my website, or I need a website, I'm just a startup, then Night Owl are a brilliant company to work with. Really, really, I get on so well with them, Tierna and Francine and the whole team there. So they've also said if you wanted to get in touch and perhaps you needed a website refresh, design, then you can get 20% off, which is brilliant if you use the code DIG20. So just mention it if you're contacting them on social media, put it in the contact box on their website. Just let them know that you've heard this advert here in the podcast and that you'd like to avail of their 20% off. Why not? Also, if you want to find out more about Night Owl, you can visit their own website at nightowlni.com. And you can follow them on Instagram at nightowlstudio_ni. That's because you changed the model of how you do business. You looked at it strategically.
We changed the model, but also we have been so granular about everything that we do. We are measuring everything, and everybody knows it's been measured. And I think before we weren't being really crystal clear about what needed to be measured.
Like what needs to be measured? Give me an idea.
So let's say, for example, in our Amazon, we're looking at it every day. We want to know, what is the return on ad spend today? You know, what was it yesterday? What was it like 3 weeks ago? What was it like a year ago? What was it like 4 years ago? So we're doing all these comparisons, and we're looking at it every single day. That's just one of them. We have a number of them that we measure. But things like what is the cost per unit ad spend? What is the total cost per unit? And the great thing is, when it's online, it's all measurable.
I know.
Everything's measurable.
And is it about people in your team that know how to do that?
Because our team is the best team.
Okay. Because would you know how to do that, or do you have people that know how to do that? Do you learn all these things yourself, then delegate, or do you get the people that know how to do it and put your trust in them? Because sometimes that can be hard for business owners to give over that trust for such a big part of their business. What would you give advice about that? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
People that are smart. Why? I need everybody to be smarter than me. I'm not the smartest girl in the house. Like, I need everybody to be smarter than me. And that's exactly what I've done. They're all smarter than me. They do the work and they deserve the credit. Mm-hmm. They do. All I do is keep them on task.
Yes.
And say, I think we should go this direction. Well, we all go this road. But I'll always listen to them, and whatever directions they're given, and hands up to listen to them.
Yes.
I don't always know the answers.
No, that's for sure for lots of people that are listening, but I think people can get bogged down in having to the grind of having to do it all themselves, Grainne, and then it can get overwhelming, and then you feel like giving up because you just can't do it all. It's about changing people's mindsets, that we need to delegate and get people in that are better than us. Sometimes
you can't do anything only on your own. You can't do anything only on your own. You have got, if you want something to get bigger, you need to have your people on board to do it with you.
Yeah.
And everybody has to be aligned, and everybody has to be following the same thing. If you're all following the same star, you're all going the same direction. And we're really clear about what it is, and all of our KPIs are aligned with exactly what we're trying to achieve, and our targets for every month are everything is interlinked.
Yes. And Grainne, this is a very busy life you're leading. You've got 2 boys, your diagnosis, your mum and dad dying. You had to change your mindset too about business and how much work you were doing. Talk to us about that, because there's loads of people listening that are in that hustle, that grind, and it can affect it starts to affect you as a person. You get a bit broken. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about that, because when you talked about this before, whenever I called you that day, and you were saying something had to change.
Yeah, something had to change. So I had come through like a significant period of time where, I think as I said to you, I had read somewhere about life speaks to you in whispers, but I can't remember who said it. I'm so sorry for whoever said it. I can't remember, but it was amazing. And basically what it is life speaks to you with small things, and then the whisper gets louder and louder and louder until eventually it's shouting at you. So for me, life has happened me a slap every so often. Like, I was in 2015 in the February, we were in a car crash as a family in America. I'd gone over for a business meeting, we were meeting friends, and we were in a really bad crash. Then that August I had a heart surgery done, which is great. I'm like the bionic man.
You are?
Yeah, I'm like the bionic man. So I had that done, and I still continued. Like, I went down to work the next day after I got out of the hospital. Who does that? I think I was an idiot. That was such a silly thing to do.
I know, but you're
and
not.
I expected that of everybody else, because I was stupid enough to do it, right? And then fast forward to being sick for a number of other things that had happened, which were grand. And then getting cancer, and I was like, but I'm still going to go back into work. So I was back in work 4 weeks after surgery, thinking that I was dog's bollocks, basically. I'm a great girl, me back into work. And I slowly started to realise that, first of all, I had no joy. I couldn't feel any joy for anything. I couldn't look forward to anything beyond this moment in time. I couldn't look forward to, if you had said to me, Grainne, I got you this lovely big ice cream now and you're going to love this. I couldn't even have enjoyed it. Everything on the outside was happening as normal, but I wasn't feeling any of it. Like, it was completely numb. And I now know that that was me in transactional mode. So my time in work had helped me to be transactional through that whole process. But being transactional and not actually feeling is not benign. That has to come out somewhere. It manifests in other ways. And for me, it was manifesting in that my brain was completely fried. I couldn't have had a conversation, really. I literally couldn't string words. I said to you at the start of this, I find it hard to find words. And you probably don't believe that now because I haven't shut up. I find it hard to find words, and sometimes I get really totally lost in my sentence. Or lost whatever I'm saying something. And that's because my brain literally had turned to mush, and I'm on medication now as well that does the same thing. So I was finding all that really hard, and I took some treatment, some therapy, and I learned during that therapy, when I went on the call, I had said to her, you know, I've lost all my body parts, everything that makes me a woman. And she said, but parts aren't what make you a woman. Your very essence is femininity. You are the essence of femininity. Your body parts don't make you a woman. And that really helped.
Yes.
And then she also said to me, I said, like, what am I going to do? And this is happening in work. And it literally everything was like falling out of me. I was telling her, and she said, but that's only for now. So I now use that phrase for me whenever things are really, I'm really good at compartmentalising things. So I put everything under the egg carton, compartmentalise everything in my head. But I found that at that time I couldn't, because I was just transacting. I wasn't dealing with anything. It's all building up. And then whenever she said to me, these things are just for now, this will change. Change will come. And I was like, oh, that was wild clever. I paid her for that, and all I needed was them 2 words.
Change will come.
And I don't work Fridays.
I know, we're going to talk about that, the dream. But do you think that, like, there's so much, like, I resonate so much with what you're saying. My mind is mush. I'm so busy. I can't think. I can't enjoy some things.
You're far younger than me. Can you imagine what you'll be like when you get to my age?
I know, but I'm trying to hook into what you're saying so that I can try to fix this. And I know the people listening will be the same, because I hear them say it when I'm mentoring and we're at events and stuff. Are we going to need to go to therapy to fix this? What can you tell us now to try and make us realise that actually there's a bigger picture and it's life?
I tell you what really helps me anyway, is exercise.
Okay.
So exercise for me has been my form of meditation, and I didn't even know it was meditation. So I was exercising 6 days a week. And when I say exercising, I mean going to the gym and doing like really hard circuit classes every day. That's not ideal either, because then your body starts to suffer.
Yes.
So if you can find a way of meditating and getting your head out of it, and like I say, compartmentalising things, there's things that you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to recognise those things and say, look, there's nothing I can do about this now. And stop dwelling on it and park it. You have to learn to park stuff. And I think I've actually gotten better at parking stuff.
Well, you've been through a lot to help you.
Therapy does help. Therapy.
And when you say therapy, was it CBT?
No. It was talking therapy.
Okay.
And I probably only had about 3 sessions.
Okay.
I did only have 3 sessions, but they kind of came at really important times. And then I also have like a cohort group. It's about talking to people that understand, and it's really difficult when you're in business to find other people, because you can't talk about the stuff that's going on in your business to just anybody you meet. And you can't talk about it when you're out with the girls for a drink. No. That's not the sort of conversation that you have, and it's probably maybe the biggest issues that you have are within your business. So I have a cohort group within my Ernst & Young alumni group, and we get together regularly, and I actually found that really helps me, and it has really helped me throughout the course of my recovery.
So the lesson there for people listening is to find a tribe of like-minded people that can actually resonate with your issues, because they're probably going through it too.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of thinking, I used to think, oh, their businesses are all far bigger than mine, and they're all far smarter than me, and but we all have the same issues. Well, we didn't all have the same issues then, but because I had already been so open with them and literally laid everything on the table that was going on work-wise, they could understand the full picture. Whereas my friends wouldn't see, and it's not that they wouldn't understand it, but it's just, you tend not to discuss your business stuff with your friends.
And This is definitely to do with that topic, but there's a lot of people hold back in life and in business because they're afraid of what other people are going to think, Grainne. So what would you say to those people that are holding back, telling what's wrong, and moving forward, taking action because they're like, I'm afraid what people are going to say or they're going to think? What would you say to people that are listening that are thinking that?
What does it matter what they're going to say?
I know.
What is it? Who does it matter to? What will they say whenever you're really super successful? What will they be saying then? Everybody laughed at me. And I mean everybody laughed at me. Laughed. And I says, well, fair enough. I mean, I laughed at me too, to be fair, but if you're coming out with something that's really different that people haven't heard of before, their immediate reaction is to kind of laugh. Mm-hmm. And the other thing to do, and it's something that I have tried really hard not to do, is when you stop ridiculing and judging others, you stop judging yourself and ridiculing yourself. So that actually starts to leave you. I used to find it really hard, and I still find it hard to do, not to ridicule, not to judge others. I do find it really hard, and I have to work on it every minute of every day. But I'm kinder to me as a result.
How did you learn that?
Do you know what? It actually happened, this is a wee bit off the wall, but I actually was listening to somebody talking about Madeline McCann, and I could hear them talking, the things that they were saying about
that
her
situation.
mum and dad. Mm-hmm. And I got really upset about it. And I just thought, those people are going through so much already, and how can people be so unkind and judge them and so unfair? And I know I was always like that.
It takes a big person to admit that.
I was always like that, and even in work, like I was expecting things of people that was totally unreasonable that I had to apologise for. I was expecting people to come into work if they were sick. They'd be back in the next morning again, and they better look sick. And they didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. But that is what I was thinking.
I know, and a lot of people listening would be the same too. But you're very good at admitting it. I think that's what helps you fix it when you admit it, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It took me a while to admit it, but I just knew that it was wrong.
I know. I remember I told you I used to have a shop, and every time I had a baby, I was back to work. So I have 3 kids, and I was back to work in 2 weeks, sometimes 10 days to do the wages in the office, and then back in 3 weeks. And then when I got my staff, who were all female, and they were taken off, I used to look at them with contempt. That
what are you
imagine they're getting
9
months. That's disgusting. My hip now, it's terrible.
Lazy.
This is not how I feel, but it's what I thought. I don't know if they're different, but I was so consumed with how it should be done that I didn't realise what was the right thing to be done. Yeah. I'm ashamed to say that, but I feel like you've given me a space to admit that. Yeah. I've never said that before, but who is that? Is that what business turns you into, where you're a little bit unrealistic about life? I think it is. I think it does turn people into that, but it's about awareness, is what you said.
It's about awareness, and
that's not good.
And believe me, I still haven't got it right.
I know, neither I, but
at least I'm trying.
I know.
I am actually trying, and whenever I came back to work as well, I said, I blamed work. I said, I'd been travelling every week for 8 years, and it was like going to America, flying in economy class, being there for maybe one night, flying back the next day again, going straight into work again. Like, there's no sense in any of that. It doesn't make any sense to do that. But I was really sore on myself and a really hard taskmaster on myself. I just expected everybody else to have the same standards. I was the silly one. I know, but you're like a majority of business owners. That's how you do get through. And actually, I know you know him, but I interviewed Pete Boyle on the podcast. Some man he is. In my class at school, but he used to copy.
Well, you must have been 2 bad rips.
He copied my homework all the time.
Well, I can't imagine the crack in your class if you were both in the same class. But anybody who hasn't listened to Pete said that he got a really big awakening and realization when he realized everybody wasn't like him. Yeah. So he encouraged all his friends to start businesses, and you could do this and you should do this. And then they did it, and they didn't have the same mindset, the same work ethic, the same values, the same, because they're different. Everybody's, and you can't have. No. And that hit me that day. I was like, God, oh, I'm a wee bit like that. I'd be saying to, like, you know, you could do this and you could do that, but everybody's not like everybody else. Everybody's different. So Pete said that too. Must ran in your class, that kind of thing. But I just think that's the entrepreneurial mind, isn't it, in the business? But you need to have awareness, because then things can just all start to crumble around you, and the people and the relationships and all of that. Sure, we could talk all day, and I would love to, but I want to talk about the future. So, I never looked at my notes once. That's the sign of a good interview, but I have them already.
I'll be asking you questions at the end.
I know.
Listening.
I listened to Women in Business there you were just speaking at before me, and a woman asked a deadly question, and she said, could you give one piece of advice in a sentence to people in business or in the world of work that are trying to get through? And you said something. Can you remember what you said? And it was one line.
I said take calculated risks.
Yes. What does that mean?
So don't bet the farm, because if you take calculated risk and all goes belly up, you will make the right decisions if you haven't bet the farm on it. Your decision making is seriously impacted if you think you're going to lose the house.
Yeah.
Really, I think you're much better to have other funds in place and make sure that your own house is safe.
So true. And I also spoke to Brendan McDowell, who owns Be Perfect Cosmetics and Voodoo Hair, and he said the same thing about taking steps but never risking it at all on that, because then you know you're safe.
Yeah.
That's really good advice, because sometimes you do think, I'll just invest all my money in, and then, or invest all my, whatever it may be, time, money, whatever. So that was really, I loved that wee line that you gave her. What's been the most challenging part of it all? This whole work journey?
I think the work journey, I think the transition that we've made last year was the most difficult but the most rewarding. But I also think that it was the most difficult because of all the other factors that were going on at the one time.
Mm-hmm. Like your health and life.
Like pretty much
loss.
Everything that happened was within a 12-month period. And most people would get that over their whole life, which means I get nothing now for the rest of my life, because everything's done.
Let's hope you deserve to get nothing.
Done. But I think that transition was very difficult, because it was difficult for our team as well to be looking and going, there's no money coming in. And I'm sure they were worrying and thinking, are we going to have a job at the end of this? And I find that really hard.
Of course.
I find it really hard. As a matter of fact, it was the first thing I thought about when I was diagnosed. How am I going to tell our team? Because the first thing you go to when somebody gives you news like that is, what about me? So they would have been thinking, what does this mean for me? Will I lose my job? That's a human thing to do.
Yes. I know. And you're not afraid to say it out loud, which is so refreshing. And I hope nothing challenging comes your way after everything that you've been through. But I guess life, you never know what's ahead of us tomorrow. Sure, you don't. The series of the podcast all about the future, Grainne. So apparently, the robots are going to be coming very soon, and artificial intelligence and the future of work, and it's all very scary but exciting, and nobody really knows and all. What do you see the future of BubbleBum? What are you doing now that is innovative or different or embracing the futuristic way of work?
We're introducing a new product.
Okay, exciting.
So we're doing a huge amount of 3D printing at the minute with the help of Northwest Regional College in Limavady. Big shout out to them. And
there's something there in that, isn't there, to people listening, that actually the local colleges are doing such unbelievable work at supporting businesses.
They actually are, and they in particular have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we are fleshing out the whole brand now, so we are having many different verticals within our brand, and that we'll just have to wait to see what that
Just
entails.
not giving away too much.
We'll have to wait to see what that entails. But yeah, we're growing out the brand, so it's not just like one product.
And you do always have to be moving, don't you? Because things will take over, and people will move in front of you, and competitors and all of that. And there's a whole conversation that we were going to talk about competitors and people perhaps stealing your product and all of that. And maybe you will come back then, maybe in the next series, and we'll talk about different issues. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
You make me laugh so much, because you're saying all the things everybody's afraid to say, and that's why I love you. Like you do.
But you have to be honest. There's no point in talking and saying what you think people want to hear.
I know, but some people do that. But you're refreshing and you don't, and that's what stood out to me. Like, you were at this Women in Business conference with all these unreal, fabulous women. So this is like before COVID, so like 2015, whatever. I can't remember. Grainne, can you remember what year that was? You spoke in the Galgorm, and I remember thinking, oh my God, she's not wise. She's just saying blah blah, like, just, you let the odd word out of you that nobody else would, but I never forgot you. So I think people need real talk, and definitely people who listen to like podcasts need real talk. They want to hear how you do it, why you shouldn't do that and why you should do that, and that's exactly why I think you're unreal. Thank you for being a guest on the Dig podcast, and good luck with everything, and I'll see you next year in series 8, right?
Thank you so much. Thank you.